Does your BMW's air compressor sound like it's eating some rocks? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. Thanks for coming back. If you're a repeat viewer, excuse the mess out here. We have a lot going on. We just pulled the compressor out of the vehicle, and we're going to show you how we got to this point. But we just want to show you what it sounds like outside the vehicle. I got it wired up for a little bench test here so you guys can listen to it. It sounds pretty horrible. All right, get ready. Turn your volume down a little bit because here it comes. It literally sounds like it ingested rocks. So if yours is making noise and you think it's not that bad, it is that bad. It's just masked because it's way underneath the car. And then the other thing is it's mounted on these springs so that it doesn't have to deal with a lot of shock under the vehicle. As you can see, okay, it's a pretty easy job. It's literally 15 minutes to get this thing pulled out. You don't even really need my help to do this, but you know, just to have a little bit of advice before you get into it. Here is the air intake, and I think this is where the problems begin. In the passenger fender of the vehicle, you'll find what looks like a little muffler. It's probably a little smaller than this roll of frog tape here. And it connects down to this. Well, if you wash under your engine bay, I think you should put a Ziploc bag or something over that. Because what happens is the moisture ends up going down the line, ends up in the compressor, and there is what's known as a desiccant canister in here, and that is meant to absorb moisture, or I'm sorry, adsorb moisture, not ab. It's AD, not AB. And how that works is just like a truck or a bus air brake system. It uses the air passing over it to dry it and sort of regenerate. Well, after it's too saturated, it can no longer do that. And I think what happens is that moisture finds its way into the front bearing of this electric motor and will actually end up cooking that bearing. That's what I think is going on here. We will do an autopsy video on this pretty soon to figure it out, but getting right into the job, let's go ahead and show you guys. There's a couple of electrical connections. So besides pushing down right here to take this off of your air intake line, there's obviously 3 securing nuts that hold these 3 bushings, hold the whole assembly up underneath the car. It's pretty simple to take the compressor off if you just want to replace the compressor only. I have seen a few videos where people have had sagging issues due to these valves. I have taken this valve apart once before and cleaned it out and put it back together. I just lubricated the seals very lightly, lubricate the seals very lightly and go back together and don't over tighten everything. Okay. But, turned out that it was the bags. I have had another customer's vehicle that the airline was actually chewed pretty far back underneath the vehicle. I'll show you guys here in a second, but like around that area underneath the vehicle, I had to take off a bunch more plastic under there to be able to get to it. But I ended up finding a metric sized coupler that was just right for the line, and I was able to fix it like that and hasn't leaked again since. But we did his bags, we cleaned out the valve. I mean, should have did a little bit more diagnosis, but it did slow the leak down. So I think he had a 2-tiered problem, which was the bags and the rat chewed airline underneath there. But anyway, just so you know, that is a thing. I don't know why a rat would chew on those airlines, but they do. These valves, if they get contaminated, they can get sticky, and that can cause the problem. But if this desiccant cartridge is coming apart, you could end up with contamination anyway. You end up with a bad compressor. So what I bought here is a Suncor part. I don't know how good it is. We'll see how long it lasts. I will post some follow-up in the description after, say about a year or 6 months of making this video and let you guys know how it worked out long term. I will carefully disassemble this and make another video on the, let's call it an autopsy video on this thing. And let's see what we really find going on in there. And also have a high pressure fuel pump I'm going to do something similar in. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, if you'd like to see those autopsy videos on these things. Right here on the bench, we'll take them apart. We'll clean up a little bit first though. Sorry, like I said, we have a lot going on. Okay, getting into the job. All we did so far is jack the car up from front and center. There's a nice spot right up underneath there, in the middle of that plastic shield right there that you jack it up from, okay? And then if you look back there, you'll see the wheels are chopped, okay? Be safe about what you're doing, okay? Once you have it up in the air, here's all the fasteners you'll have to remove, by the way. So there's 1, 2, 3. These are the ones that held up the compressor itself. Then you have just one of these, really. People complain about these. There's an O-ring on them. Don't lose the O-ring, because then you'll have a rattle coming from someplace and you probably won't remember where it's coming from. So just make sure that O-ring stays with it, okay? And then you have a few 8mm screws like this. All right, quite a few of those. There's 4. Yeah, so you got 5 of those. And then you got these plastic 10mm nuts. Looks like we've got 5 of those. And then 2 10mm. So this is everything I've taken off of the car to get this compressor out. All right. So 10, 10, 10, 8s, and then a needle nose plier. Grab it from in the middle, yank it right out. All right. Then when you get up in here, let me see what kind of view I can get for you guys up here. Okay, I'm going to flip over. So this is my view going underneath the car, looking up. Okay, here's your 2 air lines. You'll notice that there's O-rings. You'll notice that there's a ferrule, okay, in front of the fitting. It's like a compression fitting. Excuse the dirty hands and fingernails. You know, I've been working out here and gloves got torn. I just took them off. You know how that goes. So here's the 3 studs. 1, 2, 3. These 2 are towards the front of the vehicle. This is the area where the compressor sits. And then you will find all your mounting for your plastic. Okay. There's some, just kind of take note as you take the plastic out of how it's tucked in. Okay. You don't have to take out a whole bunch towards the back. Because this right here, this parting line is like pretty much right at the parting line for the door. Okay. So if you wanted a reference point, there it is, like right where the door opens. Boom, right underneath there. That's where this plastic shield right here comes off, okay? The trickiest part, I think, was in the front. This is where the jack stand is sitting. See that cutout? That's where the jack stand is sitting. And there's 2 screws that are up in here. This one is kind of recessed when you're looking at it from back here. That's up in the front. And there was another one in the corner, but apparently that one really didn't do anything for me by taking it out. So good for you to know. One less screw for you to take out, but I'll pull this thing out and show you guys a good view of it when we get out from underneath here. But that's pretty much it to take it off. Rest assured that as you take those air lines off, the back end is going to settle down, okay? So make sure it's aired up all the way. If you have to turn the key on and off, do that. There's also a fuse you can pull if your compressor quit running. Let me show you that fuse real quick. But before I forget, let's look at the plastic. So this is how it's positioned in the vehicle. And then you can see all the mounting holes. All right, not every single one of these is used, but if you're having trouble under there, this is where my jack stand is. And then up a little bit ahead of it, you see it's kind of a little tricky to take out of there. So take note of how it's tucked in as you're taking it out. Let's see. We grab a light. Pardon the bad footage, guys. This is kind of like on the fly. It's Sunday night. I want to get inside and relax, but I want to make this video for you guys as well. Okay, so looking at the rear fuse box, I took the little panel off from here. Okay, I'm right by that back window. It's this fuse right here. All right, that's what I've been having to do to get this thing to air back up sometimes, is just pull that fuse, put it back in, rock the car back and forth a little bit. Sometimes it only wants to do it when it's keyed on, engine off. Other times it waits till the engine's running to air up. So there's a whole strategy to how this system runs. And I believe that there's a module here as well. One of these 2 modules. Actually, no, this one down here on the bottom. That's your ride height control module right there itself. The one at the bottom. You might, if you're having a lot of electrical problems with that system, you might want to check for water damage in here. And then up in the front, underneath the dashboard on the passenger side, there's a fuse box like this. That's there's a green screw. It's like a quarter turn screw. You take that loose, and then that whole fuse box will drop down. I believe that's where your relay is, as well as the 40 amp fuse for your compressor. So it'll look like this. So if you have a compressor that's completely quit, you might want to check those fuses as well. And the thing is, you could put a fuse in there and turn the thing on, and then it'll just pop the fuse again if it's worse than the compressor you just heard on the bench there. All right, so let's move forward here. Let's take a look at the new part, and then we'll get it all installed. And I have a scan tool here. It's an Autel. Been using that to deflate and inflate as well. But I know not everybody's going to have that. So you can do this job without a scan tool. Just don't do anything weird. You know, just once the car goes to sleep, like jack it up and everything. And then once the car goes to sleep, that's when you should work on it. Give it like 15 minutes after you turn the key off. And then you can go ahead and get under there, start loosening up these air lines, and just let it slowly bleed down. And make sure you keep an eye on your jack stands. Don't be under there to make sure nothing's going weird with the way it's sitting. I would say the best thing to do really would be to jack up all four corners, especially if you plan on doing the bags as well. However, I left two of my jack stands with my cousin, Mike. If you're watching this, see, I needed my two jack stands and I left them with you. That's what a good cousin I am. But anyway, I gave them to him. I'll buy another set. He needed a set where he's at. So anyway, here is the new one. It did come with the control valve. It did come with the valve on the compressor, and it looks like it's got the air dryer deal built on too. To me, it looks pretty much the same. I mean, there's the inlet. The bushings look pretty good. I mean, to me, this looks like it's pretty good quality. You know, it doesn't seem to be the typical made in China junk, you know. Suncor, I've used their stuff before. They are a cheaper brand, you know, but, I mean, this is just in German, it seems. So we got German and English, no temperature control. I guess that's done by the module. That's why it cuts off after a while too. So, you know, if it's just inflating the bags for too long, it'll just protect itself and give you electronic ride height fault. That's probably one of the faults that some of you have been seeing. But yeah, this thing looks pretty much the same. I mean, I'm happy with it. So let's go ahead and get it installed and see what we come up with. See how it sounds and how fast it airs up. Okay, back under the vehicle. I just wanted to give you guys a couple notes. I just bolted it up underneath here, and I realized that these washers were a little bit loose. So I took an 8mm. It seems like there's Loctite on these bolts, but I took an 8mm and snugged them up to where the washers are not loose. So if you get the Suncor one, make sure those washers are tight so you don't have weird rattling. And being that you push this on and there's obviously an O-ring seal in there for the intake pipe, I'm going to lubricate that. I have a little electrical dielectric grease here. So I got a little Q-tip deal. You can get a big pack of these at Harbor Freight real cheap. They come in real handy around the shop. So we'll go ahead and just use a very little bit of that dielectric grease and go around just this inner edge, just at the very top, like 1/8 inch. And that helps the seal just settle in there nicely and make sure that moisture and dirt stay out. So, and the other thing I have here is some electrical contact cleaner spray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 3 connectors here, and they're all 3 different, so you can't really mix them up, all right, unless you're using like brute force to try to put them on. So I'm going to spray them out and then shake them out real good, make sure they're good and dry. Like I said, pre-lubricate those connections, and not on the pins, obviously, just on the plastic to help the connections slide in and just click in and be water and dust tight. Also lubricate the spout right here so that the intake pipe can slide on nicely and seal well. In addition, I did also want to point out that inside of this control valve, the inserts are brass.
It did come with new ferrules. A ferrule is that little piece in the front right there. It's like it almost looks like two pieces. It's one piece, but it's got a split in it, okay? And so what I noticed was that it came with new ones, but we didn't use that. These O-rings are still in good shape, and I don't want to take these off of here. I didn't have any leaks at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and reuse them, and I'll keep those other ones in case in the future if they develop a leak, I have them. All right, so I just wanted to share those couple of tips from underneath the car with you guys while I get it buttoned back up. And then we will activate it with the shield off, and hopefully we can hear a good difference together. All right, be right back at you. Okay, back under the vehicle, another little quick edit I'm going to throw in. I was going to skip this one, but just in case this might have caused my problem with this one, this connector right here for the control valve, I don't know if that's to release or apply, but maybe that might have been the problem. The blue wire there, which will be on the right side of your screen, the pin was actually pushed back in there quite some away. Is what we like to call a pushed pin, or a pain in the ass as a mechanic. So what I did was I used a screwdriver, probably not the correct way to deal with this connector, but I used a little precision screwdriver like this, a flathead, and I kind of pried in here to pop this little cover out, just right in here. You pop this big square right here out, and then I was able to pull it out of there, flip it over, and I pulled up. There's these two little wings on the connector. You'll see them. I pulled those up just a little bit with the screwdriver so that they would engage. They're like a barb. And so when you push the pin down into the connector, you wiggle it a little and you push it, you'll hear it click, and then they're both seated equally in there like that. And then I just closed that little square back up, push down on it. So check all your connectors. Make sure you don't have any pushed pins or any corrosion or anything like that going on. Clean them up, and like I said, a little tiny bit of lubricant up inside here, just at the very edge with the little Q-tip is good. If you got the Suncor one, you know, it has a pigtail coming off the motor. The connector doesn't connect directly to it. So what I would recommend, I'm trying to do this with one hand here, is be careful not to pinch this wire in between this bracket. It did not happen to me. I know some of you are probably thinking that, like, oh, you probably just did that. That's why. No, I always see worst case scenario when I'm installing things. So I'm passing that on to you, okay? Just don't pinch this wire in between the body and this bracket when you bolt this nut at the rear up, okay? And then my little clip that holds the wiring right here is not holding so well anymore. So I might do something with a couple zip ties to not zip tie it directly to it, but make like a little spacer or something to hold it off to the side like this and keep all this from jiggling around too much, okay, and causing us issues. All right, cool. Just thought I'd add that little edit in, and let me get this thing all buttoned up now. Okay, so it's airing up. Definitely airing up. And it's definitely not as quiet as I would like. Maybe I'm hypersensitive right now. Maybe with all the cover, you know, and everything back on under here. It definitely doesn't sound as bad as the old one. But a quick trick that you can do to make sure that you're not leaking, especially if you don't replace these ferrules, is get a little spray bottle with some warm water and put a little bit of soap in there, not too much. And then just, again, this is a good reason why it's good to clean this connector and do the dielectric grease. Sorry, brain fart. Do the dielectric grease around in there so you know this connector is well sealed, because then you can just spray soapy water on it to check for leaks. Let's see if my spray bottle will work. Not priming. Let's see. Technical difficulties. Let's see, maybe that'll help. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay, here we go. We don't want to put a lot. Just enough. Just enough to completely drench it. And then we're going to look and see if we see any leaks. I don't see anything. Not seeing any bubbling, so that's a good sign. Sorry about the shitty footage, you guys. Yeah, this looks good. No leaks. And it's aired all the way up. So, all right. We will leave it overnight and see if it's still got saggy butt syndrome in the morning. But we're still gonna go ahead and replace the rear bag. So we'll make another video on that for you guys tomorrow. Anyway, all that's left to do now is just button up the plastic on the bottom and safely jack the vehicle down. Don't forget to remove your wheel chocks over there. Congratulations if you stayed with us all the way to the end. We got a little bonus here for you. Some electrical information that could help you out as well. If you take a look at fuse position number 32, it is a 40 amp fuse for the air suspension compressor. If your compressor got bad enough, we not only recommend replacing that fuse, but also R2, which is the relay for the air suspension compressor. You can find these located under the passenger side of your dashboard, held up by a 1/4 turn green screw. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment.